I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Okay, so just recently while the elections were happening, I had a girl ask me if I was voting for Biden or for Trump. I said neither, I'm in Australia, and she said it doesn't matter, every vote counts. I had to explain to her that it's just her country voting, not the whole world.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So when I was like 20, I studied in Kyoto, Japan for like 6 months. And during that time, I got a job in an Irish pub because of course I did. And one day this American man comes in, he's like in his 40s, and whenever he hears my accent, he starts delivering this speech to everyone about how much he thinks he knows about Ireland. So here's me thinking I'm being friendly, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see why you would think this thing, but it's actually more like this. And he's like, well, you wouldn't really know because you're not really Irish. You're black Irish. I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that means, but anyway, yeah, I'm Irish. And he's like, no, I have a great grandmother from Ireland, and that's why I'm really Irish. You don't even look like one. And I was like, nah, I was not about to lose my nice job over this man, so I was just like, and give him his gin and tonic. But he was so angry and so livid that I claimed to be Irish that he brought his co-worker in the next day to test if I was Irish or not. Me and the co-worker turned out we were from the same town, and he was like, yeah, she's Irish, and he was so pissed off!
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I think I might make a series out of this, but this is the first thing that comes to my mind every time someone asks me a question like this. So, in 2015, I moved to the US, and I was a junior in high school at the time. And I was talking to some girls, and they were like asking me questions about Greece. These girls were seniors in high school. And this one girl goes, after I said something about school in Greece and how different it is from school in the US, she goes, oh my God, it's so weird. I feel like you're like from a whole another country. Because I am. And that was when I realized that education in the US is a scam.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I was in San Diego last year. I was at a service station, just filling up the car with petrol. And I go up to the cashier and I'm like, oh yeah, just the petrol, thanks, mate. And he goes, oh shit, is that an accent? Where are you from? I'm just from Australia. Oh wow, that's like a really long way away. So did you fly here or did you drive here? I flew? Yeah, it's probably a little bit too far to drive, isn't it? I think about this all the bloody time. Like, what?
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I am from Italy, but I have lived and worked in the United States for a while. One day this guy comes up to me and he's like, how do you become a mafia member? And I'm like, a mafia member? What? And he was like, yeah, is there like an interview to do? Is there like someone you go to apply? And I'm like, what? Apply in the mafia? This man, grown-ass man, thought being in the mafia was just a regular job, just like being an assistant or a teacher or a doctor. Do you really think we have mafia universities here in Italy? Or do we just show up at the mafia boss being like, yo, dude, I want to work for you? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's go kill some people. Hello!
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I mean, no shade to Americans because I do dumb shit all the time. But I once had a lady comment on a post when I said, thank God it's Friday. And she said, it's Thursday, hun. And I said, no, in Australia it's Friday. And then she accused me of gaslighting her, to which I answered, I'm going to blow your mind when I tell you that it's actually summer in Australia too, while you're in winter. And then she called me a terrorist.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Okay, so true story. When I was a teenager, I was in Arizona visiting my best friend who lived out there, and I was there for the summer. And we met this girl, and she complimented my top, and she was like, oh, I really like your top. Where'd you get it? And I was like, Singapore. She goes, oh, is that a mall? And I look at her and I was like, no, it's in Asia. And I kid you not, she goes, is Asia a mall?
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So first of all, I think I could probably make an entire series on this because I've been in America for a while and I've heard some pretty crazy things. When I went to high school, I went to boarding school in Utah. And on the first day, we were in class. And the teacher came in and went through roll. And as the teacher was going through roll, they told us that if you come from a country where English is not your first language, I'm going to write your name down and you're not going to get graded as harshly because we don't think it's fair. I'm thinking, wow, that's like really good for them, especially a couple of these students. They're struggling to speak English in the time that I've met them and talking to them. So he gets to me finally on the roll and he says, yeah, Bailey. I said, yes, here. I'm from Australia. And he goes, Australia. And he turns around and writes my name down. I'm thinking, what's going on? Everyone starts kind of talking around. I'm like, shut up. I went in with a 2.9 GPA my junior year. I graduated with a 4.0.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Oh, I love your Chinese accent. I'm French, born and raised.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Okay, so I tell this story like all the fucking time. But basically, I'm from Spain, which is in Europe, for those that don't know. And my senior year of high school, I was a foreign exchange student in Vegas, in Nevada. And I was in my math class, and this girl that was like white, blue eyes, blonde hair. And she comes to me, she's like, she says something like, is there a lot of people that look like me in Spain? So I said, yeah, most people look like me, but there are some people that look like you because you're just blonde, blue eyes, like you said. And she was like, yeah, because you guys are not white or some shit like that. And I was like, I am white, like, hello? And she was like, yeah, but not really white, but there's some white people because you guys were colonized. And I was like, honey, we are the colonizers.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I live in Cancun, Mexico, and I've been working with American tourism for around 6 years now. And there was this time when a guy in his 40s came to the resort I was working in. It was his first time in Mexico. And he told me he wanted to book some tours. So I started writing down all the tours he wanted to do. He told me he wanted to visit Chichen Itza, Tulum, and Machu Picchu. So I stopped writing and told him Machu Picchu was not in Mexico. It was in Peru. And he asked me how much would it take to get there in a taxi. I told him it would take around from 5 to 6 hours by plane. And he was so mad. He began complaining that how come if we also had Mayan ruins, no one told him Machu Picchu was not here.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Okay, so this is when I was working in a bar in Edinburgh many, many years ago. And this guy kept on saying, this American dude was in and he was like, you're not Scottish. You're not, well, he didn't say Scottish, he had Scotch. You're not Scotch, I'm a Scotch American, because my last name I saw on a clan map. And so that's how I know where my clan comes from. I've never seen your name on a clan map. I was born at the fucking Inverness General Hospital, you be dead.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I was raised in Australia and I moved to the US when I was almost 11 years old. And in 8th grade, this girl asked me like, oh, where is Australia? And I was like, oh, like America's here, Australia is here. Like they're two separate continents, two separate countries. And she was like, oh, but like, where is Australia? And I was like, America's here, Australia's here. And she was like, but like, where in America is Australia? And I was like, it's not in America. It's a different country, a different continent. Like America's here, Australia's here. And she was like, but like, what state is it in? Like, is that like a city or a state? And I was like, it's neither, it's a different country. And she was like, but like, America's the whole world. And I was like, no, baby girl, it's not. And she really thought that America was the whole world and that Australia was in America. And like, the US education system sucks. So they're all fucking idiots.
What's a piece of information that you learned that feels illegal to know?
If you have like 6 months to spare and you email IKEA and be like, hey, I think I'm missing a piece of this table set, slowly, one by one, piece by piece, month by month, you get that table for free.
What's one really bad thing you did as a child that you kept secret for your entire life and didn't tell nobody?
I have too many of these, okay? And a lot of them involve my grandma's house. As you guys know, my mom used to work 2-3 jobs and she had to sometimes leave me over there. She hated it, I hated it, it was a whole thing. My grandma was very abusive verbally and physically. So one day I got sick of her shit. And she took like 8 medications. I'm gonna burn in hell for this. One day she was really mean to me, so I dumped out all of her medications onto the dining room table, shook them up, and then mixed them all together and started to pour them back into their various bottles, making sure that they didn't go into the bottles they were supposed to go. Thinking to myself, it don't matter which one she grab it, oh well. Is she not supposed to take that one? Oh well, I don't care. Also thinking to myself, if she died, oh well. I was 5. My mom knows this story. The only reason she stopped is because my aunt caught me. It was like the time I tried to set the house on fire. Turning the oven on and shutting all the windows. I'm going outside and waiting. My uncle stopped that one.
Hey, if you've had pretty privilege like your whole life, can you stitch this and...
Yes, girl, let's talk about it because it needs to be talked about. Okay, so let me get my credentials out of the way really quickly. A few years ago, I looked like this. Now I look like this, and that has given me the power to experience both the best and the worst that pretty privilege has to offer. Also, not to go super psychological on y'all, at 9 o'clock in the morning, look up the halo effect on Google and learn more about this. So now let's talk about what pretty privilege actually looks like. It's little subtle things that you wouldn't notice before. So for example, not being charged for that extra drink or dessert at a restaurant, having someone offer to put the air in your tires rather than see you struggle doing it. And you can tell me like, oh my God, Kelsey, like maybe people are just good or maybe they're just doing a good deed. And I'm with you, they're doing a good deed, but why didn't they do a good deed when I was 257 pounds, huh? Why did all of a sudden all these good deeds start happening to me the moment I look like this? Because I went from like one good deed happening to me to a year to 10 of them happening to me in a week. That's not a coincidence, I'm sorry.
What has someone said to you that will stick with you forever?
Just because you have lost me as a friend does not mean you have gained me as an enemy. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table.
Tell me the most unfortunate name you've ever run across.
I have been waiting for this one. So my last name is Hiscock. Like his cock, like that's my government name. And I thought that was interesting until I realized my aunt's name is Sharon. So for a while until she got married, she was legally Sharon Hiscock. And I just think about that quite frequently.
What's a piece of life advice someone has given you that has stuck with you throughout the years?
Alright, so when I was like 19, my mentor Tyrone told me, he wanted me to write down my ideal partner. We were talking about dating and he said, I want you to write down the ideal woman for your life that you want, all the characteristics, all the qualities. Forget everybody you've ever dated, forget anybody you have in mind, write your ideal down. So I did this, and what he said to me when I gave him the paper was he basically put a mirror in front of me and said, now go be that person. Because if you met this woman right now, she would run from you. Fast forward 10 years. She ain't running. She ain't running. Go work on yourself.
Growing up, I was always told a tattoo should have meanings. So stitch this and show me your most meaningless tattoo.
I like breakfast. A lot.
It's considered trashy if you're poor, but classy if you're...
Okay, this is really old, but kind of still relevant. But everything minority kids had to wear because they were poor. I'm talking Reebok, I'm talking Fila, I'm talking Champion. Shoelaces as belts. So imagine me and my mom's surprise when we walked into an Urban Outfitters. What we were doing in Urban Outfitters, I will never fully know. We saw a Champion sweater for $60. And I will never forget that you could buy Champion for like $10 at Walmart. And I would get made fun of for that crap.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you? Here's one of mine. I remember...
How much time you got, motherfucker? I could do this shit all day. I'm going to Florida. Oh, really? Are you driving? Are you flying? I drove and it took me 17 hours. 17 hours? How many days is that? I want to visit Europe. Oh, really? What countries are you visiting? Oh, you know, the basics. No, I don't know. There's no tutorial to visiting countries. Do you mean Italy, France, Spain, Portugal? Stop it. Portugal's not in Europe. It is. However, let's pull up a map. That way we know what countries you would like to visit. Okay, now looking at this map, where would you go? I would go to the Netherlands because it's next to Amsterdam. It is the capital city of the Netherlands! We are looking at a map, god damn it!
What's an acting performance that was so good you forgot it was acting?